Hi everyone, Aaron here for Zollotech, and a couple days ago Apple announced their Spring Apple event, the first event of the season or the first event of 2021, and so I wanted to talk about where to watch it, when to watch it, and also what to expect and more, since many of you were asking me to make this video. And the first thing is, if you go to Apple's website and go to their event page, you'll see it tells you the actual event time and gives you a little bit more information about it. So you can add it to your calendar, and it says watch it on April 20th at 10 a.m. Pacific time. Now, if you're not sure when that is based on where you're located, you can go to YouTube and go to the Apple channel, and it will actually adjust to where you're located. So here it's 1 p.m. Eastern time for me, and this will adjust according to where you're located and give you the correct date. So it's based off California's time, since that's where Apple's located. I'm on the East Coast of the United States, so it will be 1 p.m. for me. And as you can see, you can watch it on YouTube, you can watch it on Apple.com, you can also watch it on an Apple TV on their Events app. So you'll be able to watch it there or on TV Plus, and they usually add it there as well. So you'll be able to watch it on any device. The easiest way is YouTube if you're on Windows, for example, or you can just go to apple.com when it's available. Now, if you're on the Apple event page and you tap on the Apple, you'll get a little augmented reality spiral. And if we tap on object, tap on this again, tap on object, you can see it spiral. And this gives us some hints as what to expect. Every time Apple puts on a new event, the little spiral logo gives us a hint. It's called spring loaded, and this will just continue. But what that logo shows us is a few things to expect, such as different colors, maybe some Macs and more. But the first thing that's very obvious that the supply chain has confirmed and many different reliable sources have confirmed is that we should expect a new iPad Pro. Last year, they introduced this iPad Pro, the 12.9-inch iPad Pro, and it's got a really nice form factor. It wasn't too different than before, but it did add LiDAR to the back of it. So we have dual cameras with LiDAR. That was a big improvement with a new processor, for example. So we can expect improvements to that, additional to what we have now, as well as a new processor inside. Now, the new processor is said to be equivalent to what's in the M1 MacBook Pro and MacBook Air, but maybe it will have a different name. Maybe it will be M1. It could be A14Z, for example. So instead of A12Z, maybe we get an A13 or 14Z with maybe some more RAM. Instead of just 6 gigs, maybe 8 gigs, but we don't know any of those specific internal details just yet. However, it is said to be Apple's first mini LED display. So it could be a little bit thicker to accommodate that display, which will give us much brighter brights and darker darks. So you can backlight it a little bit differently, and it could go super bright and give us a much better HDR experience on the display. So that would be great for not only watching movies, but editing HDR videos recorded with, say, your iPhone 12 Pro Max, for example, or any of the iPhone 12 series, as well as maybe 5G capabilities. That hasn't been very prominent, but it seems like it's a possibility. And other than that, it looks like we would get a new Apple Pencil. And the new Apple Pencil, the third generation Apple Pencil, this is the second generation, is said to be similar to this, but be more glossy based on recent leaks. So we could have an Apple Pencil that maybe has some more capability, maybe better battery life, maybe better sensitivity, more dots per inch, for example, as far as its sensitivity, or maybe pressure sensitivity improvements. Either way, we should see a new version of the Apple Pencil, and it would work with hopefully this generation iPad, but we don't really know until Apple announces it. Now, other than the 12.9-inch iPad Pro, Apple is expected to launch an 11-inch iPad Pro to complement it. However, the 11-inch is said to only have the current LCD display in it, not the mini LED display or mini LED backlit display. It will probably have the same specs and internals, be a smaller display, but just not have the mini LED benefit. So we'll have to see exactly what's new in it. Maybe there's some surprises there, maybe improved sound, although the sound is quite good from the speakers, and it's expected to have USB-C, but maybe faster charging in both of them, as far as that, as well as additional support for Thunderbolt. If it is an M1 equivalent chipset, that would give it Thunderbolt support for very fast data transfer speeds, and maybe better monitor support as well. So we could see all of those things this coming Tuesday. Now, along with the iPads Pro, Apple is also said to be updating the iPad mini. It shouldn't look any different. They're just going to bump the internal specs and maybe change the colors around, but it should look the same as the current iPad mini shown here. Now, the next thing that's pretty much guaranteed to be at the Apple event, or at least released after the Apple event, is new colors for Apple's spring collection of iPhone cases. Every year or every season, they release new colors, and we haven't had any new ones since the launch of the iPhone 12 series. So we'll have similar cases with different colors. Whether or not those colors carry over to the leather cases or maybe older iPhones such as iPhone 11 is hard to say, but this is what those iPhone cases seemingly look like based off leaks that people have posted on Twitter. So we should have new colors that go along for spring, and then later we'll have summer colors and then autumn or fall colors. Generally, we have maybe 3 different sets of colors throughout the year, but we should have some new spring colors, similarly priced, just different colors to go along with everything. Now, with a recent update to the Find My app, third-party companies can add tracking location ability to their devices, and then you can add them in Find My. We've been waiting for Apple to come out with their own AirTags very soon, and these seem to be guaranteed for this event. Now, it's possible they could have canceled them, but even companies like Samsung have made their own versions of these. So this is Samsung's version of their AirTags called SmartTag, and they made these available with the launch of their S21 Ultra phones, for example. So these are what Samsung has in sort of response to what was rumored Apple was going to launch, but expect Apple to launch something like this that would help you track things like a backpack, for example, and you could track them right along inside your app in Find My, and it would be very convenient. Not only, say, Apple's own AirTags, but also bicycles and more. So we should see something like that, at least some talk of that with this event. Now, another thing that we're very likely to see is a new Apple TV. It's been over 3 years since we've had the release of a new Apple TV, and we need some sort of upgrade as it's starting to get a little bit slow. At least mine is not responding great, and many people want to see a new controller or a remote. And so it looks very likely that we will see this based off code that's in iOS 14.5 referencing, or tvOS 14.5 that's referencing a different remote, for example. So it's very likely, and that Apple TV won't really be a huge update as far as the way it looks, supposedly, but it will have a 120 hertz display and HDMI 2.1 support according to the specs. So, at least according to the code in tvOS. So it seems like that's very likely, at least to see some sort of updated version, maybe no difference in hardware, but an updated version, and it should be around the same price, $199, for example. Maybe a little bit cheaper this time around. Now, something we're not really sure about is AirPods. AirPods 3, some people are saying to expect AirPods 3 to launch immediately, maybe be shown at the event. Other people are saying later in the year. I would not expect AirPods Pro, as those seem to be ready later this year, maybe AirPods Pro 2, and Apple has been pushing advertisement of the AirPods Pro pretty heavily. But AirPods 3 seem much more likely based off recent leaks of what they could look like this, as well as many different reliable sources saying to expect them. So that's something we may see. Also, HomePod. There's been a lot of news about upcoming versions of HomePods, maybe with displays in them or different types, and Apple got rid of their main HomePod, so it is likely we see some sort of HomePod, although that may come at a later date. However, it's something we could see, and some people are saying we may see. However, I think it's less likely. Now, one thing it seems very likely that we will finally see is some update to Apple's Mac product lineup. Now, if we take a look at the actual invite, and this seems to be a far-fetched, but Apple often includes these sorts of hints in the invite. If you tilt the invite Apple logo sideways, it has the EL from hello in the Mac hello. So this is sort of their text or cursive text that matches up perfectly with the same sort of font and cursive writing. So it's very likely to see some sort of Mac, and I think that will be an iMac. Based off all of the different information that's available out there, an iMac seems very likely with Apple's newer M1 based processors. Now, whether or not it will be the exact same M1 that's inside of this 13-inch MacBook Pro M1 is hard to say, but I would expect at least the M1 from here or something better, as well as a new GPU to help power that even further. So maybe we'll see that in an iMac form factor. It's possible we won't see anything, but Apple did say to expect new Macs completely changed throughout the lineup with their own processors or Apple Silicon within 2 years from the initial launch or announcement. So we've already got the MacBook Pro, MacBook Air, and Mac Mini. It's time for new Macs, and I wouldn't be surprised if we saw an iMac or maybe even the MacBook Pro, but I think we'll see that iMac with different colors that look similar to what John Prosser said, but maybe something different, maybe a little bit smaller than the Pro Display XDR, but something similar to that. So I'm looking really forward to all of these different things, and of course iOS 14.5. Many people keep asking me when to expect it, and it looks like we'll have it right after the event in release candidate form. So on the 20th, I would expect the release candidate, and then maybe it launching to the public later in that week or the next week at the latest. So normally it seems like they release candidates right after the Apple event. Sometimes they release the final version on those days, but they're hiding whatever's in that code about new products too, as it seems. So I think we'll see release candidate on the 20th. If not, it will be a surprise to all of us, but that seems most likely. So a release candidate with a final release date given by Apple at the event on the 20th as to when to expect the final release of iOS 14.5, and then we'll move on to iOS 14.6, for example, maybe betas as far as that goes, and then of course WWDC in June on the 7th, where we'll see iOS 15. Now that doesn't mean Apple stops working on iOS 14. They'll work on that until September, until iOS 15 releases to the public in September, usually late September. That's generally what Apple does. So look for iOS 14.5 RC or release candidate in a week or so, or less than a week at this point, and a final release not too far after that. Let me know what you're most excited for, though, in the comments below. And if you haven't subscribed already, please subscribe. And if you enjoyed the video, please give it a like. As always, thanks for watching. This is Aaron. I'll see you next time.